I am Dr. Janin. I am here in South Africa, in Port Elizabeth. I am a biographical coach. And I will be chatting with somebody who I'm happy to introduce. She is Anthonette Miller, and she is staying near Berlin. So we're doing the north-south, hopefully without too much technological buffering and with good connections. Anthonette, it's great to see you. We will be talking about career challenges, but also about the coaching experience that you have had with me over the years. And let me add this, over 3 continents, which is also, in this day and age, interesting for many people. Will you allow me to quickly introduce you, or would you like to do it yourself?
Please go ahead, Dr. Janin.
Okay, I'll go ahead, Anthonette. As you can hear, or maybe not hear from the accents, we both have heavy South African influence. But Anthonette grew up in South Africa, but in a very different part from where I am staying. And you studied at the University of Stellenbosch, graduating as an industrial and mechanical engineer, also with an MBA from their prestigious business school. And let me say it, because you want both cum laude, yeah? That's long ago. And then you came to Port Elizabeth because Port Elizabeth in South Africa was, and still is, the hub of the automotive industry. So you joined the automotive industry here. And it did not take too long, and you were assigned a team of 20 people under you. So suddenly the managerial and the leadership reality came upon you. Now this is a challenge for everyone, whether you are new in your career or you've been there for a long time. The moment that having the responsibility to lead a team, to manage it, to reaching their goals, it is a big challenge. So you knocked on my door for some leadership coaching. So I'm now going to let you explain a bit or describe a bit what we talked about in the beginning, what your challenges were, and also what helped you at that stage when you had to fill these big shoes.
Yeah, exactly, Dr. Janin. We started the coaching in 2011. By then I had about 10 years of working experience and a little bit of supervisory experience before. But it was the first time that I managed a big team of about 20 people, of course, industrial engineers, and some of them were even older than my father. So I was thrown into this leadership position to manage a very diverse team in terms of age and, of course, gender and, of course, from different ethnic backgrounds. And I was also responsible for implementing in my role, our team, of course, the changes on the shop floor. So I had to deal quite often with the managers on the shop floor and implementing change. This was on the one hand, the more career and professional side. And only a few months later of being in the job, of course, I had also my first child. So I had then this real challenge that many women experience, to be both a professional woman as well as a mother, and to try and juggle these two sides. And we had many discussions around your fire, where there were times that I simply just had to voice the frustrations and irritation sometimes, but also, of course, the joy and seeing how my team developed, and then, of course, yes, discussing how my personal life also joined with that.
Yes, I remember that very turbulent time in your life. And I think like most career women, when the babies are there is the level of exhaustion that comes in, the lack of sleep. And yet at work, this is no excuse. Huh? I remember us sitting at the fireplace where you're struggling to keep your eyes open in the evening, but trying to muster all your energy to stay focused and to not let the job dominate the love for your child, which is quite a challenge. And you normally being a very sportive person, you had to surrender some of your activities. And so the effect What would you say these fireplace conversations did for you? I know there are several goals I have with them, but it's more important that people find out how you experience it on your side as the person looking for support.
So it brought definitely for me a way of putting things in perspective, because as soon as you voice and discuss it with somebody with absolute confidentiality, somebody that I could trust, and I could share so completely openly, and the questions that you always stated helped me quite a lot, because it simply provided different perspectives to, I might have been stuck in thinking in one direction, and to provide more perspectives. Of course, your approach has been very much from a sociological context. And I still remember the times when we also drew the timeline, my timeline of my life, to show the ups and the downs. And all in all, it just puts everything in a very good perspective.
You know, it's so good you mention the sociological background of mine. Because I do know that most people, me, myself included, when we run into obstacles, into problems, we do tend to blame ourselves for not being good enough, not being able to cope with the situation, but we think it's our own fault. And I think I saw the difference in you when you began to see, but these gender issues, these generational issues in the workplace, these are the facts of a career. This is the reality, also part of the reality in South Africa. If we take that back for quite those years, women in leadership were a novelty. They had to really break to quite a few ceilings to be seen as acceptable professionals. Thankfully, this has changed to some respect, but you were at that pioneering change. I think, besides the perspective, but correct me if I am wrong, I think what really helped you is when you grasped more how to speak assertively in difficult confrontations. Let's not call them conversations, let's call them confrontations. It's not an evident given that we know what assertive standing up for ourselves in a professional or a personal situation means, and that we can change a lot by learning to communicate differently. It's now long ago for you that you began to practice this, but how was that? It did help, eh?
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. That was definitely one of the biggest personal growth experiences that I've had over the years, is to become more and more confident in myself, believing in myself, and with that confidence to be able to speak assertively in conversations, in confrontational discussions. And absolutely, I learned very fast that, so to say, if I didn't stand my man and being like, take my stance in the man's world and being assertive, then I would be absolutely trampled upon. So I definitely, when I had that realization, could be far more successful in my career. And yes, for any young engineers of today, I also for sure will give that advice, especially the Afrikaans people, because we grew up in this culture of always respecting the elder and referring to Mr. and Mrs., whereas the English culture is a lot more on a call it an informal name basis. And that was also something for me to make the switch in my head and becoming more assertive and just addressing elders and people in high manager positions, leadership positions on their name, and simply had to be confident enough to say, raise my opinion, to provide proposals, to work together to find solutions.
It was a big cultural change in you, but I am sure it prepared you well for Germany.
Yeah.
What always struck me And what I really admire in you is that you manage to, which not everybody does gracefully, you manage to become more assertive, but without losing your personal empathy, your personal interest in the people around you. And as far as I recollect, those teams here in town, they were appreciative of your approach, that you could bring both to the table, especially all the people that were working under you. They could sense, yes, you were strict with them, but you were also open to their human reality. And as we know, many of them face very harsh situations. So you weren't blind to that, and you were able to blend those two aspects of your personality. And I take my hat off for you, because it's not good enough to become a hardened a hardened person in the corporate environment. We all need that humanitarian aspect.